So, hi, welcome to my channel. I'm Ilana from Unabridged Adventures, and I have not been posting a ton recently. I know that, for the same reason that a lot of people that are still in school haven't been posting a ton, which is that it is second semester and finals week is, or not finals, midterms is either coming up or just passed for me. We had our midterm slightly early in most of my classes, so I had it a week or two ago, depending on which class. Um, so yeah, I'm just going to do a quick wrap up because I haven't posted anything in the new year, I don't think. So this is just going to be what books I've read in January and February. And if you've read any of these yourself or really want to read it, let me know in the comments. I gotta say I enjoyed most of these. I started off with a good reading year. So let's see. So the first book that I finished was Gideon the Ninth, which is up on my shelf. I don't want to get most of these down because I like the way my shelf is set up right now. But I think I finished this in like a day or two into the new year and rated it 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. I immediately ordered Hera the Ninth after it, which was also a 5-star read. Gosh, I could talk forever about the Locked Tomb trilogy. I'll probably have to give it its own video because it was just so good. And if you haven't read it, you absolutely should. Don't worry, I'm not going to spoil anything. Then I went on to read Stormfront, which is right here. It's the first of the Dresden Files, and I think they have like 18 books in the series now. So yeah, I gave it a 4-star read. It was really enjoyable. It's kind of like a pulpy noir vibe going on, with a very much like, oh, and then she walked into my office that day whenever I was contemplating the meaning of life, and just, it's very fun. It's slightly cheesy, but I really enjoyed it. So I gave Stormfront 4 stars and Full Moon 3 stars, because I read Full Moon, the second one, right after that. And so then, in between those two, I read The Final Empire, which is the first book in the Mistborn series, and it was not exactly what I was expecting, but I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars, just because I don't know, you can definitely tell that it's Brandon's earlier works, and so the writing style just wasn't up to what I was quite expecting. But yeah, it was still a really enjoyable book. If you want to hear more of my thoughts, you should go check out the World Hoppers podcast, because that is a podcast with me and 2 of my friends just discussing the Cosmere and everything going on there. So the second episode about Mistborn should be up on next Tuesday, I think. Okay, so moving on. Done with the shameless self-promo. Then I took a break and read some romance, which I just realized you can't see my romance shelf, which is sad, because I love a lot of the books up there. I read Romancing the Duke by Tessa Dare, and I gave it 3 stars, just because it was, I mean, it was kind of what I was expecting. I didn't go into this expecting like a very long, like interesting plot. It served its purpose. It was kind of a cheesy romance, and I liked it. I did like Say Yes to the Marquess, which is also by Tessa Dare. Slightly more, I gave it 4 stars, and I like the characters better. I like the dynamic a bit more. I just feel like, I don't know, I just enjoyed it more. So that got 4 stars, and then I finished The Shadow Rising by Robert Jordan, which is the 4th book in the Wheel of Time series. And yeah, it was interesting. This is usually the one that everyone says is the one that like you really start to care about the characters and like understand what's happening and really get into the series. And I can kind of see that. I think the pacing was a little off sometimes, because there were some times where like I just couldn't put it down, and then there were like chapters where I just did not care at all. So hopefully that kind of evens out a bit more in book 5. So after that I read Hera the Ninth, which, gosh, that series makes me cry so much. Okay, and then I read, I think we're getting into February now. I don't know if you can see it here, but A Song of Wraiths and Ruin. I can go ahead and pull this one out, by Roseanne A. Brown. I really enjoyed this. I didn't I wasn't enjoying it too much around the middle part because it just felt very tropey. Like, it just felt like it had been done a lot, which, like, I understand that nothing has, like, you don't have to write a new story. Like, you can reuse tropes and everything like that. There's nothing wrong with that. But the twists at the end really kind of hooked me, and so now I am waiting for the second one. Ooh, I don't know if I can get this in here. Okay, success. Okay, and then I listened to A Canticle for Leibowitz because I've really been in more of a sci-fi mood in February and in March. I'm really wanting to read more sci-fi. I've gone back to watching Star Trek with my mom because she grew up watching Star Trek, and then I grew up watching Star Trek with her, and I love it. I've been watching a lot of the original series on my own time, and then we started watching through Voyager because the first episode of Next Generation is super long, and we always fall asleep like halfway through it, even though I love Q and I want to see more of it. It's so long. So anyway, we're busy watching Voyager, having a lot of fun with that. So I read A Canticle for Leibowitz, which is a post-apocalyptic story. It happens after a nuclear war takes place in like the 60s, I think. I think it's around like Cold War era. I might be wrong on that, because they don't know a lot about what happened with the nuclear war. It's set like, the first part is set like, I think 500-ish years after, maybe less. The thing is, it deals a lot with losing knowledge because there was a lot of like book burnings and stuff like that that takes place after, and so the Leibowitzian order of monks pretty much exists to try and protect any information and knowledge that they can find, which I find super interesting. As a religions nerd, I like to see sci-fi that doesn't just crap on religion and like actually has an open discussion about like its worth versus like the problems that a lot of times come with organized religion. I think it's a really interesting dialogue that I wish I saw more. So that is kind of a theme in a lot of the sci-fi that I like to read, just because I think it's really interesting. But it follows people as they like learn more about what life was like before and learn more about the nuclear weapons that kind of ended that life. It is fascinating, and I definitely recommend it. I rated it 4 stars just because I think it might have been better if I had read it. I'd like to get a physical copy and like actually go through and spend more time reading it. I just listened to it on like 1.5 times speed. Okay, so then took a quick romance break because I was having a horrible flare-up and just was not feeling good. Speaking of which, look at my cute little braces or splints. Like, they're really pretty, they're really cute, and they're just so like helpful medical wise. I love it. I love having medical equipment that doesn't look like I just took it from a hospital. Anyway, that's my own issue. But I was having a really bad flare-up one day. I pretty much just like couldn't get out of bed, and I got really tired of looking at my screen, and so I just grabbed When a Scot Ties the Knot and read that in one day. And yeah, I gave it 3 stars just because I didn't really, I don't know, it felt more like the Romancing the Duke than it did her other series, which is the Duchess Deal, the Governess Game. Those I really enjoyed more than this Castles Ever After series. But that's like my own personal things. So then I read Sisters of the Vast Black, which I've had on my Kindle forever and finally got around to. And it is about nuns in space, so we're kind of sticking with the religious theme. And it was really interesting. It's a very short book. I think it's only like 200 pages long. And yeah, I really liked it. I think I read it in like 3 days. I would give it a 4 out of 5 stars, I think. I would go through and read it again. I just really enjoyed everything that was going on there. And so then, again, sticking with the sci-fi, I read Sleeping Giants by Sylvain Neuville? I don't actually know how to pronounce that last name. But it is a sci-fi book written completely as a record of dialogue, like recorded conversations. And so I actually listened to that on audiobook, which I think really helped to kind of bring it to life. They've got like a full cast audiobook, and it was so good. I really want to go on to the next one. Gave that 4 stars. I really enjoyed a lot of what was going on there, and the questions about like developing weapons that could possibly harm a lot of people, but if used in a different way could also save a lot of people. Like that kind of issue that we see a lot in engineering, since I'm going into the engineering field, and I don't want to be someone that makes things that could kill people, but I also want to further our scientific knowledge, which can be unfortunately tied together sometimes. Okay, and then, oh, I don't think it popped up on here. Okay, I read The Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde for school. It was interesting. I don't think I would have picked it up on my own, but yeah, it was interesting. And then I read Citizen 13660 by Mina Okubo. Okubo? Yeah. And I also read that for school. It was really interesting. It is a, I guess, graphic novel, you would say, that records the author's time in the Japanese internment camps during World War II. And it was very informative and sparked a lot of really good discussions in class. Yeah, and then the most recent thing I've read has been Well of Ascension, the second book in the Mistborn Era 1 series. And I did not like this one nearly as much. I gave it a 3-star, because I think the lowest Cosmere book that I've rated has been Warbreaker at 2 stars. So we're getting back down to that level, which kind of scares me. But I didn't like a lot of the characters. I didn't like a lot of the kind of tropes that were being used. I didn't care for the pacing at all. It was just, I don't know. A lot of times, like, the Sanderlanche kind of redeems a book whenever you can go through and, like, get all that information at the end that answers so many questions, and I feel like this one didn't even have that interesting of a Sanderlanche. So, yeah, again, stay tuned for more of my thoughts on that topic whenever the Well of Ascension episodes come out, because those should be interesting, to say the least. But yeah, so those are the 16, actually, since they didn't count that one, books that I have read in February and January. I'm currently reading the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin, and the books are over there, so I can't go grab them. I'm currently reading the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin, and I'm going to be starting The Fires of Heaven by Robert Jordan, as well as finishing Dawnshard, which is the Stormlight novella that came out around the same time as Rhythm of War. And yeah, I hopefully want to get around to First Sister, kind of sticking in that sci-fi area, because I know a lot of people on my Instagram voted for To Sleep in a Sea of Stars, but I just don't think I'm ready to hop into another super long book whenever I'm already reading a ton of super long books. But yeah, so we'll see how that goes. You know, I never stick to a TBR, so I might end up just not reading this for another, 3 months. We will see how it goes. But yeah, as always, check the links down below if you liked, or if you enjoyed this, then like and possibly share it if you want. And please subscribe. I would love to interact more with you guys and talk with you guys more about the books that we're reading, different themes and stuff. If you can't tell, I am very tired right now. Yeah, and have a great week, have a great day. Good luck with midterms if that is something that you have to deal with. And yeah, bye!